This is one of my favorite film music piano pieces that's maybe not that well known. It's from the movie The Legend of 1900, starring Tim Roth, that came out in 1988. And it's set on an ocean cruiser, and in the year 1900, the turn of the century, they find a baby that someone left behind on the ship. So the crew takes care of him and raises him, and they name him 1900 because that's the year they found him. And it turns out he's a piano prodigy, so he stays and plays piano in the jazz band on the ship. And the score to this movie is composed by the one and only Ennio Morricone, who is most famous for this tune. And I will not spoil the movie, because it's a great movie, but there's one scene where he plays this piece that I will explain. So they finally bring some recording equipment on board to record 1900 on vinyl, because he's so good. So he sits down at the piano and starts to play these wild jazz riffs, but then he looks out the window and he sees a beautiful girl that he immediately falls in love with at first sight. And then he plays his love, and we get this beautiful legato melody over lush broken chords. So there is no original transcription of this, what I can see. Only a few different versions if you browse the internet of transcriptions. But the original soundtrack is on Spotify, so you can hear how it sounds. And in the jazz introduction, it's hard to have any right transcription because it's so free and it's not in any meter. It's just you need to have the right notes. But in the main section with the love theme, there is an issue with the meter, because the most common is in a straight 4/4 meter. So it's either like this, so 1, 2, 3, or it's even simpler like this. But that's not really how it sounds in the original soundtrack, because the melody comes earlier. There is no long note before that. So I think it should be more a 7/8 bar, very uneven meter. So something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It really adds to the mystery of the music, this unevenness. So just beware of that if you want to play this. Now let's look at the other musical features. It's not only meter. Part of the ambience, the atmosphere of this comes from this low bass on a D, and it keeps the D in the bass as a pedal point. Now E minor, but with D in the bass. And now it starts to move chromatically down. Now we get A, first inversion with a C sharp in the bass. And continue down with a D7 with a 7 in the bass. To a G. So G is a 4 in D, very common. But then switches to minor now. G minor 6, it's the instant pain because he's longing for her. She hasn't accepted the love yet. Back to D to E, first inversion, preparing A, and it's an A11, a lot of extensions. And that's preparing return to D. And it's keep the suspension for a long time here. Yeah, so resolving to A, more proper A, and D. and it's a return of the first melody. So basically that's the first round, and it goes for another round, grows more, reaches a climax, and then calms down. It's not a very long piece. And then at the end, it's funny, it's like a coda. Suddenly it's some new material, and it starts to moving. So we end up on this. G minor again, D major 7, E the 9 is always here. And now, and the final cadence. And I think this is because when he sees the girl in the window, she starts to move towards the end and walks through several windows. So I think this is the movement in the music to match her movement outside. It's so sweet and painful, nostalgic and lovely. Ends in D major. So with this, I will play some love for you all. Special Patreon shout out to G. Edlund and A. Philip in this episode.